Could sleeping in on the weekends actually be really bad for you? Well, according to one study that has yet to be peer-reviewed by a medical journal, they are saying it is possible. A preliminary new study found that every hour sleep was shifted per week was associated with an 11% increase risk of heart disease. These findings were presented this week at the annual meeting of the Associated Professional Sleep Societies, which is what I just call my bedroom, a joint venture between the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the Sleep Research Society. Again, it hasn't been peer reviewed yet, and the authors are just basically using their findings to indicate what could be more set in stone at a later date, but let's talk about it. To study the effects of altered weekend sleep patterns, researchers looked at survey responses from approximately 1,000 adults ages 22 to 60 to determine participants' average amount of social jet lag. They subtracted weekday from weekend sleep midpoints. If a person reported sleeping from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on weeknights, midpoint 3 a.m. and from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. on weekends, midpoint 5 a.m. for example, that's a 2-hour difference. The researchers found that every hour of social jet lag was independently associated with a 22% increased likelihood of self-reported good health as opposed to excellent health and a 28% increased likelihood of fair/poor health. Each hour of weekend sleep shifting was also associated with an 11% increased risk of heart disease, as well as higher scores of fatigue, sleepiness, and depression screening questionnaires. So first, let me get a reaction from you guys. Do you think that sleeping in is gonna kill you?
I have a hard time believing the study at all.
Okay.
Because like you mentioned, it is yet to be peer reviewed.
Right.
It said this is associated, where there's no clear consensus on whether it causes it or not. And sleep studies, along with food studies, are very hard to do because there's so many factors that go into this long length of time that you're studying. You don't know what this person's life is, or their stress level, or their anxiety, or their job, or their diet, or so many different factors that could change whatever risk for heart disease or other factors might be.
I think that that's an important thing to point out, is that with studies like this, it is so subjective to each individual person. I'm skeptical if they can make a broader assumption on
that's why you do a survey with 1,000 people, is to try to get rid of some of that natural variability between individuals.
I'm so cynical when it comes to studies. Anytime a new scientific study says that you should, punch yourself in the face and then you'll have more friends, like that, it was not a real study at all. But
But what kind of friends at the end of the day?
I would only buy this, I think, if they had surveyed maybe 10,000 adults. I really only believe the really broad ones.
I just think, well, also self-reported surveys are also another factor to look into. But it's just, I mean, there's something to be said about presenting science in a journalistic way, because so often this will be taken at face value and be read to be the truth. And it's just like, well, what about these other studies? What about peer reviewing it? It's a fair thing to say.
That said, a research assistant at the University of Arizona, who was involved in the study, Sierra Forbush, said just simply, this suggests that a regular sleep schedule may be an effective, relatively simple and inexpensive preventative treatment for heart disease as well as many other health problems. That I can get on board with.
I think
sleep well. Sleep well is actually, whenever you're feeling exhausted or you're coming down with something, you get a good night's sleep, it does help your health.
Yeah, Ariana Huffington can get behind that. I think that their basic idea in the article, not in the headline, the article, that if you're sleeping the same amount but you shift it all over the place over time, that can be bad for your health. That's not a stretch, I don't think. But it's the way that people are pitching it as sleeping in on the weekends might be bad for you. But what they describe here is not the issue. It's not that people are just going to sleep later on Friday and Saturday nights and getting the same amount of sleep. I have a feeling a lot of those people are also sleeping more. And they're saying they're controlling for it to make sure that they're sleeping the same amount, but that's not reality. Reality is I might go to sleep at 1 instead of 11, but I'm probably also gonna sleep for 10 hours, which probably gets rid of a lot of the negative health effects. It may not be sustainable, it may not be great for you, but I'm not sure that what they're describing is really how the headlines of these articles are pitching it.
It also doesn't control for reasons why.
Or how this video title might pitch it. We'll see. I don't make the titles.
Yeah, it also
we don't do that. Don't complain to us.
We have no control over that. It also doesn't control for things like maybe you getting real turnt on the weekends, and then that might affect your night's sleep. Because I know this guy does.
Yeah.
I don't go out ever.
I take some fake mushrooms and I go wild.
I go wild.
Young Turks membership creates independent media.
Believe me.
No ads.
Believe me.
All the shows.
Believe me.
On demand.
Believe me.
Support independent media.
Believe me.
It's awesome, tremendous. You'll love it.
Believe me.
And by the end, you'll be thinking,
I'm like a smart person.
tytnetwork.com/join.